Здравствуйте! Как дела? Как у вас дела? How are you? How are you doing? That's a formal or just a plural for everybody. Как у вас дела? If I were to address one person, I'd say как у тебя дела? Being informal, friendly, etc. Those formal and informal greetings, the way to answer them properly, the way to deal with those situations is the focus of our lesson today. Let's see. Last time we dealt with expressing possession to a little bit. We were talking about family. У вас есть сын? Do you have a son? У меня есть две дочери. I have two daughters. Things like that. So, у меня есть, у вас есть. Also in our last lesson we dealt with counting things. Counted an awful lot of stuff. Money, time. We also used some numbers for expressing age. Things like мне and then 20 лет or something like that. Хорошо? We're going to continue on with that, with the just plain practical vocabulary and the way to use it. Let's take a look at the objectives of what we're going to do today. Greetings, goodbyes, informal, formal, personal, possessive pronouns, expressing possession in general, and also some imperatives. Things like скажите, tell me, извините, excuse me. We've seen it, we're going to review it today. So first thing, we're going to look at a dialogue that deals with those informal greetings and also ways of saying goodbye. Just quick chit-chat stuff. Take a look at it.
О, Владимир, привет!
Привет.
Как дела?
Хорошо, как у тебя дела?
Спасибо, тоже. Все нормально, все хорошо. А что ты делаешь?
Я читаю очень интересную книгу. Это книга об искусстве.
Понятно. А как дела у Андрея Новикова?
У Андрея Новикова дела хорошо, отлично.
Как его бабушка?
Его бабушка поживает плохо. Она сейчас старая и болеет.
О, это очень плохо, очень плохо. Ну, передай ей привет, пожалуйста.
Хорошо.
Ну, пока. Всего хорошего.
Ну что ж, в этом диалоге произошло следующее. Спросили, как у кого дела, как поживает такой-то, такой-то. So in this dialogue, what we did is a very simple hello, how are you doing? Fine, what you doing? Such and such. How is somebody? How is his grandmother? She's sick. So, concern for somebody, asking about somebody, and then goodbye. Let's go ahead and take it apart. Let's start with the first one. Привет! Привет! Hi, hi. Как дела? How are you doing? The full thing would be, since they're friends, как у тебя дела? Как у тебя дела? 3-4. Хорошо. Окей. А как у тебя дела? Тоже неплохо. Нормально. Stuff like that. Alright, not bad. Спасибо. Thanks. А что ты делаешь? And what are you doing? Я читаю интересную книгу. Интересная книга. Interesting book. Going into direct object form gets that ую and then u for the noun. I'm reading an interesting book. Хорошо. The next we've got А как дела у Андрея Новикова? And how is Andrei Novikov doing? So there he is. He's Novikov Andrei. But to say how are things with him literally, you have to put him in that genitive case. We saw a little bit of it. We've seen it in из России, из Далласа. Here's masculine Andrei Novikov going into у Андрея Новикова. You'll see quite a bit more of that. Okay, then we go on with очень хорошо, прекрасно, etc. And she's asking, how's the grandmother? And the answer to that is не очень хорошо. Not too good, not very good. Плохо. Bad. Она очень старая и болеет. She's very old and she is sick. She's not feeling well. So, старая, old versus новая, new for a thing, or старая, old versus молодая for a person. Okay, let's go to the next one. Передай ей привет. Literally pass to her a hello. Say hello to her. Say hi to her. And he says, хорошо, пока. Alright, bye. Пока, she says, всего хорошего, all the best, etc. Очень хорошо. Ну что ж, давайте посмотрим. So when you're asking somebody how someone's doing, you would use this «Как у тебя дела?» Take a look at it. Как у тебя дела? How with you things, literally. Хорошо? That у тебя part is the one that's gonna change based on who you're asking about. If you're asking about that Андрей Новиков again, you'd say «Как у Андрея Новикова дела?» Or «Как у Джона дела?» etc. How is John doing? Хорошо? Alright, if you're asking it formally, instead of у тебя, you're gonna use the next one, which is у вас. So, как у вас дела? How with you things, literally, again, sounds ridiculous. That is how you're saying, how are you doing? How are you? Как у вас дела? Formal, как у тебя дела? Informal. Okay, maybe you could be asking about somebody else relating to that person. For example, how is your family? Как ваша семья? Как ваша семья? Please repeat after me. Those are great things to learn to say properly. Как ваша семья? Хорошо? Or you could have the other one. Как ваш отец? Отец, father. So how is your father? How's your dad? Как ваш отец? Ваша семья, ваш отец. Based on the gender of the noun. Хорошо? And the next, how's your mom? We've got как твоя мама. Now we're choosing to use informal твоя. Of course you could say как ваша мама. That is up to you. So, как твоя мама. Хорошо? And the next we've got как твои родители. Parents. Родители. Твои родители. Как твои родители. Now, since родители is plural, we're using this твои, plural. Очень хорошо. Or you could have how are your kids. Как ваши дети. Most likely the person you're gonna ask that of will be somebody you have to be polite with, so ваши seems more appropriate. So, как ваши, plural, for ваш, дети. Очень хорошо. Or, how's your son? Как твой сын? Хорошо. Или дочь, or maybe the daughter. Посмотрите. Как ваша дочь? Очень хорошо. Or, how's your husband? Как ваш муж? Kind of sounds funny, doesn't it? Как ваш муж? Try it again. Как ваш муж? Хорошо. How's your wife? Как твоя жена? Informal твоя. Of course, if you're being formal, you'd say ваша. Очень хорошо. So far, we've been answering with things like хорошо, очень хорошо. Those are perfectly fine, but you've got some other options. So, first the basic хорошо, good. Somebody asks you, как у вас дела? How are you doing? You'd say хорошо, спасибо, fine, thanks. Or очень хорошо, very good, thank you. Хорошо. Or if you're not doing well, then you could have this one. You could say плохо, bad, poorly, плохо, очень плохо, very bad. Хорошо. All right. If it's not that bad, you could just say так себе. Так себе means so. All right. Так себе. Хорошо. Or a very typical Russian answer. There it is, right there. Ничего. Literally, that means nothing. That kind of reflects the Russian psyche. If nothing bad is happening, things must be all right. So, ничего, not bad, okay, all right. Хорошо. Ну что ж, you could get more adventurous and you could say something like очень неплохо, спасибо. Literally, very not bad, thanks. So, неплохо, not bad, is used so much together that it now has become one word. So, очень неплохо, pretty good, literally, very not bad. So, once again, очень неплохо, спасибо. Хорошо. Or if you're being really upbeat, you could say просто отлично. Отлично means excellent. That's like an A+, doing really great. So, simply excellent, just great. Просто отлично 3-4. Хорошо? If you're doing really poorly, you would say ужасно, horrible. ужасно. Awful. Просто ужасно. Just awful. So, something like, как ваш муж? How's your husband? Просто ужасно. He's doing awful. Хорошо. Alright, so we've got this entire range of starting from ужасно, really low down to the ground, horrible, up to прекрасно, отлично, great, wonderful, etc. Хорошо. Alright, one more thing we're going to deal with is imperatives. That sounds like something we haven't done, but in fact, we've been using that forever. When you say hello, when you say здравствуйте, you actually use an imperative. So, use it when you say hello. Здравствуйте. Literally, that means prosper, be well. Хорошо? So something like, how do you do it? Anyway. Okay, when you're asking somebody, tell me something, you use this one. Скажите. Tell me. Okay, by the way, that T in parentheses means that that's what you're gonna use when you're being formal. If you're being informal, you would instead just use скажи. Say, tell me. Хорошо? Okay, when you're asking for something, asking somebody to give you something, you would say дай. Like, дай мне, give me, дай мне ручку. Хорошо? If you're being formal, you'd say дайте мне ручку. If you need to apologize, that's what you do. Извини. Excuse me. Sorry. Извините. More formal. Очень хорошо. And then if you truly need to apologize, you would say простите. Forgive me. Простите. Or just прости. If you're saying it to one person that you normally say ты. Informal, you too. Очень хорошо. Let's take a look at the complete list. Let's first go ahead and read them without the T, the way you'd say it informally. Подожди. Wait. Wait a little bit. Подождите, plural. Смотри. Look. Смотрите. Look. That's the plural. Входи. Входи. That means enter. Come in. Somebody knocks on the door, you'd say входите. Come on in. Sounds pretty ugly, doesn't it? Входите. Спроси. Ask. Спросите. Ask such and such. So and so. You know, узнай. Find out. Plural узнайте. And when you want to say let's do something, you would say давай. Like, давай пойдем в кино. Let's go to the movies. Давай поговорим. Let's talk about something. Or the plural of it, давайте. Очень хорошо. This was pretty straightforward stuff. Most of it we've known. We've known about извини versus извините, здравствуй versus здравствуйте. Now we're going to go to some more heavy-duty grammar. We're going to look at the way of expressing possession. To say I've got something, you go into у меня есть, right? You remember that, okay? We have seen it again in this little dialogue that we just looked at. We've seen it in this following phrase. А как дела у Андрея Новикова? This у Андрея Новикова, literally with Andrei Novikov, is in genitive case, okay? We've also seen this one. Как у тебя дела? How are you doing? But literally with you. У тебя. Хорошо? What kind of things do you have happening? That's what it is. Or the formal option right there. Как у вас дела? Очень хорошо. So when asking if somebody has something, we say у вас есть часы? This у вас. Do you? But literally with you exists a watch. Хорошо? Okay. Informal was у тебя есть деньги. The у тебя part is that with you. У тебя есть деньги? Do you have money? Очень хорошо. Alright, same is true when you want to say that somebody has something, like you've got new magazines. У меня есть новые журналы. I have. У меня есть. That's what we're focusing on. And very conveniently when you're talking about having something, what you have is a nominative case. Doesn't change. So you looked it up, new magazines is новые журналы. Just stick у меня есть there and you are saying, I've got new magazines. У меня есть новые журналы. Хорошо, right? You could say about another person, oh, you've got a watch. У вас есть часы. Хорошо? У вас. Or you could say about us, у нас есть $5. We've got $5. Классно. Deal. So, у нас. We have it. Хорошо? Alright, you could say that she has something. У нее. That means she has. Actually, the entire у нее есть would be she has. What she's got in our example here is телевизор. A television. She's got a TV. У нее есть телевизор. Хорошо? If he has something, we'd say у него есть. So, у него есть, he has, пальто. Once again, don't try to break down the has as a есть, and don't think of у него as he. This entire у него есть is what makes it into he has. Хорошо, you've got to remember the funny structure of у plus a person plus есть. Хорошо, alright, they've got an old apartment. У них is they have. У них есть старая квартира. In nominative case again. Очень хорошо. Alright, seems confusing, but it's actually not too bad. Let's take a look at the first half of our list of those possessive pronouns. Accusative case. Remember things like my name is such and such. Меня зовут Дмитрий Чацкис. When you go into the so-called genitive case, expressing possession, just add an u to it. And you end up with I have, most likely, like у меня есть. So from меня to у меня, piece of cake. Тебя, you direct object to у тебя, you have. Нас, us, to у нас, as in we have, у нас есть. Then вас, у вас. So basically we haven't really done anything new except for sticking that u in the beginning. It gets a little bit trickier with the third person. See what we've got there. So ее is her, right? Like я ее знаю, I know her. To say she's got something, you would say not у ее. That's kind of hard to say. Separate it out with an n, and you get у нее. So from ее, her, to by her, near her, she has. У нее есть. Хорошо? From его, him, to he has. У него. У него есть. Then from их, them, to say by them there is something. Literally, simply meaning they have. У них есть. They have. Очень хорошо. Так, ну что ж. Поразбирались мы с вами с этим. Теперь давайте посмотрим кое-что еще. So, I have just explained about how to say I have something. У меня есть ручка. I have a pen. Хорошо? So, у меня есть ручка. I have a pen. That есть becomes unnecessary once I start talking about that ручка in more detail. У меня есть. The есть is used only when you first establishing the fact that you've got it. Okay? So, у меня есть ручка, but then if you are to describe it, you would say, I've got a black pen. In English, you're still saying I've got, I have. In Russian, drop the есть. У меня черная ручка. У меня whatever else you want to say about the pen. Хорошо? Same way if you're asking somebody, do you have something? When you first establishing the possession, the fact whether somebody has or doesn't have something, you need to go ahead and use есть. So, do you have a house? У вас есть дом? У вас есть дом 3-4? Хорошо. And the person would answer, yeah, I've got one. Да, есть. Okay? But then, after I already established that you have a house, I'm gonna ask you, what kind of house do you have? Still have in English, but no есть in Russian. I know you've got it. I don't need the есть anymore. I would simply say, какой у вас дом? What kind? With you house. What kind of house do you have? Какой у вас дом? And answering that question, you won't use есть again. You would simply say, у меня, and then describe it. Большой, красивый, big, beautiful, белый, white, красный, red, я не знаю. Дом. Хорошо? Okay. Then, if you don't have it, as you remember, you would simply say нет. Or нет, у меня нет. No, I don't have. Хорошо? Alright. When I'm asking about something, once again, if I am to ask, do you have a pen? I'm gonna say, у вас есть ручка? I'm establishing if you've got it. I'm kind of establishing the possession of the pen. It's your pen that I'm asking about. If, however, I'm asking about who's got my pen, I'm not gonna say есть. I will simply say у кого? Who has моя ручка? Who has my pen? Есть is not necessary. It's not possession, it's my pen. I want to know where it is. It's just like saying где моя ручка? Where is my pen? Okay? And the person that borrowed it from me is just gonna say у меня. With me. I've got it. Won't say у меня есть, because if he used есть there, he would mean that he owns it. He borrowed it and feels like it's his now. Очень интересно. So, you will have an exercise in your homework that'll ask you to first try to use the yes, try to use the right forms of those pronouns that will express the meaning of I have, you have, etc. And also is going to ask you to determine whether you need a есть or not. So, use the есть when you're first establishing the fact that you or somebody else has got something, and do not use the есть ever after. So, when you're describing something rather than saying you've got it, no есть. So, once again, у меня есть ручка, I've got the pen, getting sick of it. But if you're describing it, you'd say у меня черная ручка. I have a black pen. Хорошо. Ну что ж. Okay, I think we've dealt with that quite enough. Let's go ahead and look at some more fun stuff. Non-verbal communication, gestures and things like that. Remember how we express the approval? You shake somebody's hand, that means you're agreeing to it, right? Okay. One more thing that's not necessarily prevalent in the European part of Russia, but more going down to the Central Asian republics, the Caucasus, the more mountainous places, you're going to have people do that. If you want to agree to something, you extend your hand and somebody just, claps it once, pats it once. Don't do this, just that. That means you're agreeing to it. Just like a handshake. Same deal. Хорошо? Okay, another way to express an approval of something was just, hey, to show your thumb, right? What you're saying, doing that is хорошо. Good. Классно. Cool. Хорошо. Классно. Здорово was another one. Хорошо? Ну что ж, when you want to express disapproval, the easiest thing to do would be to just make kind of a doubtful, a little bit of an ugly face and go, ah. So, shaking your head like that versus nodding it is how you, just like in American culture, express disapproval versus approval. Хорошо? One more thing to do if you want to say, not only do I think it's a bad idea, but you're gonna get in trouble for doing that. Namely from me. Among young people you may see that. Kind of like, I'm gonna beat you up if you do that. You'll get in trouble. So showing a fist usually shows, I don't think that's a good idea, and you're gonna get it one day. Okay? A jocular way of agreeing to something, approving something that came from the military. And Russia's being pretty heavy with military people is saluting. Somebody tells you, could you do this for me? And kidding about it, you could say, хорошо. Yes, sir, right? It's sarcastic, but used quite a bit. Хорошо? That's when you agree. When you really strongly disagree, you could do this gesture. While in some other European countries, that means something that you wouldn't want to deal with, may have some nature that you don't want to bring up in everyday conversation. In Russia, that simply means, well, heck no. Here's this so-called figa, a fig. So, putting your thumb between your index and, what are we gonna call that finger? Is the way of saying, no, don't think so. You ain't gonna get that. Хорошо. Alright. One more thing we're gonna do today is look at yet another saying. Here it is. В семье ни без урода. Literally it says, in the family, it's not without an ugly person. There is an ugly one in every family. Kind of like there's a jerk in every crowd, or a black sheep in the family, black sheep in the herd. So once again, в семье ни без урода. You'll see it on a separate sheet. Хорошо. So, take a look at this school dialogue. That's going to be a review of some things, and that's going to introduce some other things to you, which we will look at in great detail next lesson.
Владимир, ты знаешь, что сейчас делают твои московские друзья?
А кто именно тебя интересует?
Ну, например, Саша Демидов. Он работает или учится?
Саша Демидов сейчас находится в Германии.
В Германии?
Да, в Германии. Его отец работает там в компании.
А Саша учится там?
Да, Саша учится там в институте.
Понятно. Так он уже не ученик, не школьник, а студент.
Да, он на первом курсе.
Понятно. А что делает Антон Бубенов?
Антон Бубенов сейчас учится в институте в Москве.
Ты знаешь, что он изучает?
Он изучает физику, математику, биологию и химию.
Очень интересно. А что делает такая очень красивая девочка в вашем классе? О, я забыла, как ее зовут?
Оля Архипова?
Да, Оля Архипова.
Она симпатичная, но не очень красивая, но не самая красивая девочка в классе. Я не знаю точно, что она сейчас делает.
Ну, учится?
Я думаю, она сейчас ходит в институт.
А в какой?
Мне кажется, она ходит в Московский государственный университет.
Понятно. А что она изучает?
Она изучает философию, искусство, русский, английский язык.
Она очень серьезная девочка. Я думаю, она хорошая студентка. Передай ей привет.
Хорошо.
Хорошо. Well, that looked like an awful lot of detail about some people that we don't necessarily care much about, but that gives us an idea of how people talk about somebody else, how somebody else is doing. We'll look at it in great detail next lesson. In the meantime, let's go ahead and take a look what we did today. Greetings, goodbyes, informal, formal, possession, pronouns, all of that stuff. Plus we dealt with some of the imperatives, скажите, tell me, дайте, etc. Хорошо. For the first time, you're gonna start doing exercises out of the book. Take a look at your homework. Exercises 9.1, A, B, and G, 3 of them. Pages 166, 167, and exercise 9.4 on page 169. And as always, practice the dialogue. I'm talking about the informal dialogue. Give it a try. Спасибо. До свидания.